What's up, Indie? Circuit here for Indepreneur, and I'm going to walk you through creating your targeting with our FB targeting cheat sheet. Now, before we do that, you first need to know why you're even doing this so that you can know why it's effective before you even try it out. So, clearly the problem for independent musicians has always been, how do we attract new listeners? Now, historically, we have relied on gatekeepers to do this for us. That's why we covet major labels. That's why we cover booking agents, because we think that they know something we don't in terms of getting more people on board with us. Okay. And radio, we don't have access to radio traditionally. We haven't had access to television stations and television shows. We don't have access to all the places where you massively create new listeners. So it's always been prohibitive to independent musicians. We've had to do things like tour and just really work our asses off to generate new listeners. But that's no longer the case because of Facebook ads. Facebook is essentially a social content sharing platform. That's all it is. So all you're doing is just sharing content with other people, right? Now, your content can slip right in there because of targeted advertising. So not only do we know a lot about the users on Facebook because they share so much content, but you can also present your content and not trip up the radar of, oh, this is an ad or this is some band trying to market to me. So that's why Facebook ads is incredibly innovative. It changes the whole game for us independent musicians. But the main thing that independent musicians get wrong with Facebook ads is targeting the right people, especially because there's a lot of bad information out there. Most of the music marketers out there are not the best marketers. They're just someone who decided, I'm going to market for music, right? That's the broad majority of cases. So the people out there teaching Facebook ads are not necessarily experts in Facebook ads, not necessarily people who understand how the algorithm works. And so this bad information gets out there and circulates around, and soon enough, indie musicians think that Facebook ads just can't help them. But I'm here to tell you that I have the results to back that it can help you. It can massively change how you approach your music career. The first power that it gives you, that it bestows upon you, is the ability to generate new listeners predictably and reliably. So that's the power of Facebook ads. And now all we need to do is clear up where most of this wasted ad spend goes because of this bad information, which is targeting. Now, if you've ever heard someone tell you, oh, you can train Facebook's algorithm by targeting, random cheap countries, that's a lie. That's not true. You cannot train Facebook's algorithm and then use that training to switch to civilized countries where people might buy your music. That's not going to work. As soon as you change the targeting of an ad set, the algorithm re-optimizes. So that cannot happen. We want to get that out of the way before we crack into the sheet so that you know if you've heard anything like that, if you've heard that maybe you should be advertising to like Abu Dhabi, that is incorrect. So without further ado, let's crack right into this targeting list worksheet and get you all of your targeting. So there are really three main problems that we encounter when indies are saying that Facebook ads don't work. Number one, indies will say that maybe they've never used Facebook ads because they don't have faith in them to begin with. And that's just a simple problem of showing them results that you've been able to generate with Facebook ads. That clears pretty quickly. The second is that indies have used Facebook ads, but they cost far too much, or they achieved a minimal result. And I'm going to tell you the exact reason why that is. And then there's another group of indies who have used Facebook ads, but just got a ton of spam accounts, like fake likes from random countries. And that's because they were given bad information about which countries to target. So what you should know is that Facebook ads does work. It can be costly if you don't know how to target the right way. And if you target random countries, obviously you're going to get a bunch of random accounts that aren't useful to you, and it's going to drop your reach dramatically. There are three levels of Facebook ads. There is the Facebook campaign level. This is where we set the objective that we want Facebook's algorithm to optimize around. So if you set the objective to traffic, it's going to get you the most clicks. If you set the objective to video views, it's going to get you the most video views. And then you can also name the campaign. Then there are ad sets. Ad sets are used to define what the audience targeting is, how much per day you want to spend on that audience, and what placements you want that audience to see your ad in. So for example, there is the news feed. There is also right-hand column of Facebook where you can place ads. We primarily use the news feed. Now you're going to use this targeting worksheet to actually create your ad sets. You're going to create your audiences with the targeting you uncover using this worksheet. And then within each ad set, there is an individual ad, right? Or multiple ads that you want to be shown to this audience. Now, when you put multiple ads within one ad set, Facebook typically picks a winner within the first 2 days and only runs that ad. So it optimizes pretty quickly. If you ever want to test multiple ads and get true split test results, then you have to put them within duplicate ad sets. But ad sets is what we are building here. Now, when indies go out to use Facebook ads, the first thing that you might encounter is the idea, okay, well, I'll just target a big old audience, right? I'll target the broadest audience. Facebook learns, so it'll figure out who works, and I'll just target maybe, if I'm a hip hop artist, I'll target hip hop fans, people who like hip hop music. Well, that's too broad. You're not giving Facebook anything to go on, so it is going to try out a massive amount of different configurations of users, right? It has every different type of user you can imagine within this massive audience, and it's going to test as many as it possibly can, which is going to drive your costs through the roof with minimal results. Now, the second thing that you might think is, I'm just going to target like very, very specific. I'm going to just target this one artist who I really like, who I sound like, and I'll just get his fans and I'm going to try that audience out. The problem with that is that Facebook ads not only charges you more, the more specific that your audience actually is, but it doesn't have enough room to optimize. When you give Facebook a nice audience of between 500,000 and 3 million, it has a nice amount of users to cycle through that all have a very specific common interests, and then it can find the best ones based on maybe their age or factors like their gender or their income or where they live in the world or what other things they do on Facebook. So you want to give it enough data to chew on, but nothing to go on with your targeting. So that's really the problem that we're taking care of here, is we're giving you enough targeting options to build effective audiences, okay? So now I'm gonna walk you through exactly how to fill out this worksheet. Okay, so you will find some general instructions and just a brief introduction on the first page of this worksheet. And then here is where you are going to complete the first step of this process, which is you are going to fill in 7 artists that you are influenced by or you think you sound like. And then you are going to ask a random stranger, someone who's not familiar with your music, hopefully not even your musical genre, what they think your music sounds like. And this removes your bias entirely from your initial targeting. We've found, and if you join our indies group, you will find that everyone in there has an experience where they created an audience that they thought, this isn't really me, and it ended up being their best performing audience in Facebook ads. For instance, the 502s didn't think Ed Sheeran was really what they sounded like, and sure enough, he was the lowest cost per view whenever they ran video traffic. So you don't want to take any assumptions. The first 7 are your assumptions, and then the next 7 are, a random stranger is the best. Someone who you don't even really know is the best. But, if you don't have access to that, find someone in your friends group who doesn't really listen to the same music that you do. And then, so for me, I'm going to enter in, I think I sound like Mayor Hawthorne. I think I sound a bit like Elmore James. I think I sound a bit like James Brown when I sing. I think I sound a bit like Otis Redding, or I try to. The Platters, I guess. I'm really influenced by Jackie Wilson, and I think that I could do well with Eli Paperboy Reed's audience, who is also a modern soul artist. Now, if you ask someone else, they might say like the Black Keys, right? Who I probably would be like, I don't try to sound like the Black Keys. The White Stripes, maybe, they would say. They might say Shaky Graves. People like that. Maybe a little bit of Anderson .Paak. But really my bread and butter is these people. People might think that I sound like these people. So great, we've got that. Now, first thing we're going to want to do is log into Business Manager, okay? So let me go to business.facebook.com. If you don't have a Business Manager account, it's pretty straightforward to set one up. But once you do have it, you're going to go to the top left, you're going to go to All Tools, and you're going to go to Audience Insights under Plan. Now, if you don't see Audience Insights, you first have to visit Creative Hub, and then it should pop up. And then visit Audience Insights. And then my first artist from my list is Mayer Hawthorne, right? So I'm going to click everyone on Facebook. Then I'm going to enter in the countries that are valid to target in any of your campaigns. Now you can target a worldwide audience, but choose countries where people, consume American media if you're in America, or consume your country's media wherever you are. You want to have countries that actually make purchases for this kind of entertainment. So for us, our bread and butter is the big six: United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Ireland, which is technically different from the United Kingdom, and then Australia and New Zealand. Now, some other indies have found success in countries like Belgium, France, Germany. These are all great targets. I just typically run to these countries because I'm an English-speaking artist, and I want to go there because they make the most purchases. So I've basically siloed out all of the countries that I want to target. Now I'm going to type in the interests, my first targeting interest, Mayer Hawthorne, right? Now in Audience Insights, what Facebook does is it takes your parameters, what you're setting in this targeting, and then it tells you everything about, and it knows about these people as users. So here you have their demographics. This is somewhat useful. I don't think you'll be able to draw inferences from it yet, but you go to page likes, and you can see all the other pages that people who like Mayer Hawthorne also like. And that's incredibly important. So I'm going to split this tab here. Now, when you're looking at this page like screen, you should take note that this is the affinity score. What this means is how much more likely than everyone else on Facebook is Mayer Hawthorne's audience going to like this page, right? So when you enter in your artists, it'll tell you exactly how much they like these things on Facebook, more than the average user. And that's incredibly important because it'll show you, okay, these people have a strong affinity for this other thing. So if I target that other thing, I'll likely find people who would also enjoy my music if I truly sound like the seed artist, okay? So I'm going to enter these in real quick. Got Tuxedo, which is another Mayer Hawthorne project. Stone's Throw Records. We have Fitz and the Tantrums. We have Madlib, Anderson Paak, Toro E. Moy, and Jay Dilla, and Chromeo even if we wanted it. But that's great, okay? Now, when I go into Facebook to create my audiences for any ad campaign, I can use this grouped targeting. Not only are these artists very similar, but they all have pretty big audiences. So I can create a unique grouping of types of people. Mayer Hawthorne's grouped artists are going to be very different from my next artist, Elmore James' grouped artists. So that way I'll be able to test a type of person and see the response I get. And then I can know truly, do Elmore James and Mayer Hawthorne work differently? Otherwise, I would have just grouped them in terms of targeting, and I wouldn't have been able to tell which one is getting me the best response. So you always want to group your artists close together, and then you want to check your audiences before launching any campaigns to see whether or not they overlap. So this is how we get to that targeting, guys. This is exactly it. Now, I want to cover a few things you might run into. Number one, you might have some influences, or your friends might say that you sound like some artists who aren't targetable in Facebook. You can't get a whole lot of good data out of them. Or you might have, a bunch of really, really broad artists, big artists in your targeting list, and they all have the same, similar artists. So your grouping is all pretty much exactly similar. You can't get any depth out of it. There are a number of tools we use to overcome this problem. Number one, I highly recommend Spotify, okay? You can take all of your seed artists from step one of this worksheet and then enter them into a Spotify radio station and let Spotify's algorithm recommend to you what people who like those artists are also listening to. Spotify has a huge amount of data about what listeners are also listening to, and it will recommend you the right targeting. So this is a great way to uncover artists that you weren't aware of. You can also do this with Pandora. Pandora is exactly the same thing. It's algorithmic. It's also based on their own analysis, so it's less based off user data than Spotify, but you can totally use those two platforms. And then another great resource that was spotted by our indie Brad Peterson is musicmap.com. music-map.com, and you can find that in the worksheet as well. What this site basically allows you to do is enter in an artist, and it will trace the lineage of that artist on into the future and back in the past, just like Ancestry.com, but for music. So I might type in Mayer Hawthorne here, and it's going to tell me all the different artists that his fans also like. I wasn't aware of a lot of these, so this can get you amazing targeting options that you're just not aware of. So we highly recommend also using this to create your audiences. You can use this worksheet to create up to 14 audiences. You can duplicate it in your computer and create even more. And you can use this to really expand it out. So however crazy you want to get with testing, you can. The more you test, the more you will find audiences that just love your music. And if you only spend your ad dollars on those audiences, it can be up to 10 times the efficiency of what you were previously doing. So I highly recommend using Music Map to spin out even more complexity in your audiences. This worksheet should help you take a scientific approach to marketing your music and gaining new listeners. You will be able to test audiences against each other to figure out exactly what works and then scale that up until it just stops working. That's basically the goal. Now, when you create your audiences in the sweet spot, you can actually run it for a long, long time before it stops working. So that's why we create audiences this way. When I first started out, I wasted about $1,000 just throwing pretty much every artist that I would have gotten in step 1 of this worksheet into one audience and then trying out different ads. And that was pretty much the wrong way to do it, completely ass backwards. So I hope that this worksheet gets your targeting down the right way and takes care of what I think is the primary cost driver when people first start trying out Facebook ads to market their music, which is just not knowing how to create these ad sets. Now you can create ad sets the right way if you just follow these guidelines and you use this worksheet. So I hope it's been helpful, and I hope you guys have an awesome time meeting everyone out there who actually likes your music. Peace out, guys.